A massive fire broke out at the almost century-old Manila Central Post Office building, destroying one of the country's most iconic and historic buildings. The Sandiganbayan acquits Janet Lim Napoles in 16 cases involving the pork barrel scam. And Pag-asa is monitoring a tropical cyclone that could develop into a super typhoon and enter the Philippine area of responsibility. Fast, focused, and fearless. Here's a roundup of stories we're watching now. I'm Sean Yao. A massive fire razed the historic Manila Central Post Office late Sunday night. Here are the details.
It was nearing midnight on Sunday when a fire broke out at the Manila Central Post Office. Thick smoke billows from the building's basement greeted the firefighters when they arrived. Despite putting smoke exhaust fans, the plumes never seemed to end. At 1 in the morning, the firefighters put up their breathing apparatuses to venture inside the building. The fire remained relatively small at this time. At 4 a.m., PhilPost officials surveyed the situation together with members of media. It was seen that the fire started at the basement.
Currently, yung affected na area namin ay yung aming basement, no? Yung area na to, nandito yung aming, meron kami ditong mga gamit na mga parang bodega noong aming isang area office, yung tinatawag naming Mega Manila area. So far, yung mga sulat natin, hindi siya kasama na nasunog, no? Yung part ng parcel namin din, hindi rin siya nakasama.
But minutes after the interview, the fire started to get bigger and spread even further. The building's iconic neoclassical facade now engulfed in flames. At this moment, some firefighters had lost their water supply and chose to refill.
Nagre-refill po yun. Kasi po ang fire truck po natin, 1,000 gallons lang po ang laman yan eh. So siguro 7 minutes, ubos na ang laman yan.
The fire went to general alarm at 6 in the morning, the highest fire alarm level. This mandates every fire unit in adjacent cities to respond to the incident. Due to the lack of water, firefighters resorted to use some coming from the fountain at Liwasang Bonifacio. 4 responders suffered minor injuries as some weren't able to breathe properly. PhilPost said that the whole building suffered damage, as well as letters and parcel, and even important memorabilia were not spared.
In the museum, some of them, the artworks that have been done as stamps, may mga collection na nandiyan dyan. So, medyo yun, wala yun. The collections and the paintings, some of it, medyo nasunog din yan.
The BFP estimates the cost of damage to be at 300 to 500 million pesos. Investigation is still ongoing as to what caused the fire. The Manila Post Office is historical on its own. It was battered during World War II in 1945 and was rebuilt in 1946 after the war.
And the Manila City government has given its assurance that no other buildings can be built on the property of the razed Manila Central Post Office. Manila Mayor Honey Lacuna says the site of the post office is a heritage zone as identified by the NHI or the National Historical Institute. What this means is that the land where the post office stands is a protected zone in the city. Not even the national government can erect a different building on that same location other than the post office. Mayor Lacuna says they're working with the national government to restore the Central Post Office's infrastructure. But for now, the post office operations will be relocated to the office's Foreign Mail Distribution Center on Del Pan Street in Tondo, Manila.
Poproteksyonan ng ating pong zoning ordinance na kahit po ang pamahalaan lungsod ng Maynila o kahit anuman po, kahit ang national government po ay hindi maaari magpatayo ng kahit anuman pong infrastruktura sa lugar na yun maliban po doon sa tinatawag nating Manila Central Post Office.
time to check in on the weather. Pag-asa says that there is a high chance that the typhoon spotted east of Mindanao will develop into a super typhoon in the next 24 hours. The State Weather Bureau last spotted the cyclone some 2,330 kilometers east of Mindanao. Typhoon Mawar is packing wind speeds of up to 160 kilometers per hour. Pag-asa says the typhoon could enter the PAR possibly on Friday and will be given the local name Betty.
Dahil nga nasa karagatan pa po ito, patuloy pa po itong kumukuha ng lakas, kaya mataas po ang chance na mag-intensify po ito into a super typhoon.
We're bringing you more stories after this quick break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Sean Yao. A suspect in the murder of Negros Oriental Governor Roel Digamo has recanted his testimony. Judiel Rivero, also known as Osmond Rivero, said his previous statements were made under threat and that he was tortured. He also claimed that he was forced to implicate suspended Congressman Arnie Teves as the mastermind behind Digamo's assassination. The camp of Rivero is now requesting the Justice Department to reopen the preliminary investigation. Earlier, Justice Secretary Boying Remulla had said that he expects some suspect witnesses to recant their testimonies as they suddenly turned uncooperative after getting private lawyers. The Sandiganbayan has acquitted Janet Lim Napoles on 16 counts of graft involving the pork barrel scam. This is still in connection with the anomalous use of Senator Bong Revilla Jr.'s pork barrel fund. The anti-graft court found Napoles not guilty because the allegations were already predicate in the charge where she was previously convicted. These cases were originally filed against Napoles and Revilla back in 2014. On the other hand, Sandiganbayan has found Napoles guilty of 2 counts of malversation of public funds and 2 counts of graft charges. This is still in relation to the transfer of around 7.6 million pesos of pork barrel funds from then Davao del Sur Representative Douglas Cagas to Napoles-controlled NGO CARED. And on his retirement as Chief Justice of the Philippines, all 14 incumbent associate justices unanimously presented Artemio V. Panganiban with a unique plaque of acclamation declaring him the Renaissance jurist of the 21st century. Former Supreme Court Justice Artemio Panganiban spoke with Kathy Yang on Thought Leaders, and here is what he had to say.
I voted either with majority or with the minority. But I had a few decisions myself that are not that are interesting. For instance, in one case, I wrote a decision on how to write a decision because since I was a student and even as a practicing lawyer, I found decisions of the Supreme Court difficult to decipher. So I outlined how decisions should be made. You have a prefatory statement, and then the facts of the case, then the issues to be resolved, and then how each issue should be decided, and then the final conclusion. Conclusion is who wins, the plaintiff or the defendant. No? I think the case is social justice versus Mike Velarde, the famous televangelist. No? That's one decision that's, I think, important because it will influence a lot of justices to write very simply. Because in my opinion, decisions should be understood not just by the lawyers but by their clients, by the parties who stand to lose the most
but
or to win the most.
But doesn't that take away the mystery, if you will, that most in the judiciary would prefer to have? A veil of mystery.
Yes, well, that is I think, the olden times. But times change. We are more transparent now. There's more accountability now. And that the judiciary must also veer towards that. And it has veered towards that over the years. No? And even the current court, I must say, led by Chief Justice Esmundo, they have a reform program that also veers towards transparency and digitization. The courts will be digitized. Chief Justice Esmundo is a computer freak, so he likes the computers and, of course, digitization.
Well, now that we're talking about the current judiciary and the current challenges and the on and off conversations on charter change, what are your thoughts about charter change? Are you for or against it?
Well, I am in principle in favor of changing parts of the Constitution. But there is a right time to do the right thing and for the right reasons by the right parties. So, right now, there are too many things going on in this country. Prices are high, people are not gainfully employed, Putting in charter change, it's not time yet.
Catch the full conversation with former Supreme Court Justice Artemio Panganiban on Thought Leaders with Kathy Yang tomorrow, Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Manila time, only here on Signal TV. One News Now will be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News. All sides, all the time.